Want it to be represented on the world stage, but also I understand why it's not. Luckily, it will be in LA.
Yeah.
Or actually, it won't be in LA.
$1.2 million deal to go to Texas Tech. What are your opinions on that? What the heck?
Hashtag grow softball.
Hashtag grow softball.
Now you maybe can relate to Team 1 and Team 2 at Duke.
How was your ESPN debut?
Dude.
From going to Duke to Clemson. So I haven't told anyone.
And Softball Speakeasy Season 3 is about to go crazy.
Welcome to Softball Speakeasy Season 2, Episode 5, presented by the Softball Sanctuary. If you're looking to take care of that arm, you have to check out the Softball Sanctuary. Use code Speakeasy for 10% off at thesoftballsanctuary.com. And guys, we have such a special episode for you this week. But before we jump into it, if you're new here, my name is Kelly Torres, and I'm a former Duke softball player turned pro. In Season 1, we followed the Duke campaign that ended in the Women's College World Series. Now, in Season 2, I'm taking you week by week of my professional season with the Texas Monarchs. This season, I give you next level access into the 8-week Women's Professional Fast Pitch League. And this week, I met with my once co-host, Raine Wilson.
Woo!
How are you?
Dude, so good. We're back. We're finally back. We knew it was coming, but it feels good to be here.
Yeah, we have so much to catch up on this episode. But before we do that, let's recap this last series against the Texas Smoke. So I'm not sure if you're watching these games, Rain, but we lost we lost all three, and then the fourth one got canceled. They're just insanely good. They have Janae Jefferson, SJ, who just got back from playing with USA in Japan. So I mean, it's nice that we're playing against these people, but they're just insanely good. Like it was like back to back to back homers.
Hey, Kelly, I have a question to ask you about that because,
Yeah.
I think now you maybe can relate to Team 1 and Team 2 at Duke. We had mentioned how the Smoke has been around, they're established, like kind of thing, and you all
Yeah.
are new kids on the block. Like, take me through how that has affected your perception on Duke's first team.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a part of that. Like I
Yeah.
came in and you guys, we were good. So it's difficult. I've never been a
Yeah.
part of a team that is trying to find their rhythm, trying to find, how they work as a unit. And
Mhm.
that's exactly where we are. We're in that building stage of team one. So there's difficulties, but of course, with every struggle, you learn and you grow. And the next game, you just hope you can be better.
Yeah, and it probably makes you appreciate the good times more when you do get those wins and you do play well and you start to click as a team. It's like it's even more rewarding than
Yeah.
walking in and immediately having all of the successes, which is way like as athletes and competitors, we want to win for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's been a wild experience having a little bit more adversity. But seems like you're handling it well. I have not been able to watch that much
Yeah.
because things have been a little busy. But I do see the highlights on Instagram. Great Instagram by the Monarchs, by the way. Love
Yeah.
following them.
Well, if you guys out there want to watch our games, it's going to be in our descriptions. It's on a YouTube link. Click in and watch us because I think it's great that there's just a platform for players out of college to continue to play and grow the sport.
Hashtag grow softball.
Hashtag grow softball. Anyways, Rain, I just want to dig into what you just experienced. The tell me about it. How was your ESPN debut?
Dude, it was insane. It was insane because as you all know, listening, if you listened on over the first season, I am a broadcaster now. I do color commentating. I'm a little under 2 years into this whole thing, and when the season ended in Oklahoma City for Duke, that was kind of like the season ending for me as well. And then in the summertime, I'm a travel guide, so that's what I've been doing over the last since June, so the last couple months. But I do this every summer, pretty much the last 4 years. But I was in the middle of working a training new travel guides going into the field, and I got an email on Friday night saying, "Hey, Rain, whatever. Someone asked me to reach out to you. Do you have any availability next Thursday and Friday to go to the Little League World Series East Regional?" I was like, oh my God. And I thought it was a joke at first because it said, but I looked at the email like 4 or 5 times and it said like her name and then ESPN.com. And I'm like, okay, this has to be real. And then I looked it up and the dates matched up. But I had a serious problem because I was supposed to be working for my travel company that next week. Like, it's very important training people, new people in the field. And so I went to my bosses within like 30 minutes and was like, hey, here's a sitch. I would have to leave on Wednesday night, fly overnight, Thursday, Friday, do games, and then fly back on Saturday because we were testing the new leaders, new guides on Saturday, all their tests. So I needed to be back for that. And I had to stay until Wednesday night. All that being said, my boss is amazing. I'm going to shout them out here: Mike
Mm.
Weed, Lauren Antinarelli, Emma Schaff. If you all are listening, like, wow, thank you so much. But thank you for just saying go. They didn't even hesitate. They were like, "We'll figure it out. Ask your colleagues if they'll have your back." Also, my fellow mentors, that's what we call it in the training, immediately were like, "Raine, we will do whatever it takes to make this happen. Don't freaking worry." So then flights got dialed up. I didn't know who was playing. I had to pass a background check because they're kids, so I didn't even know their names, and so I was just stressing out, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, what? I was thinking ESPNU, like ESPN Plus. And I was like, what are the games?
The
They're like
ESPN.
12, yeah, 12 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern, ESPN one, E1, they call it. And I was like, oh my God.
That
So,
is
yeah,
crazy. That is
it was,
crazy.
yeah. And then I flew overnight the next week, flew Wednesday night, like left at 11 p.m., landed at 9 a.m. Connecticut time from the West Coast or Western part of the United States, then drove straight to the field, which is like about an hour. Got my makeup done in the car, got inside, and did the game. And it was
Well,
insane.
your
It was crazy.
makeup looked awesome. I saw some photos of you on TV.
Oh,
You look so good.
yes. I want my a girlfriend to be watching eat that. I can do makeup too.
Well,
But yeah, man, it was crazy.
yeah,
Those little kids are awesome.
how was it calling those little kids versus college, teams? Is there a big difference?
Well, I think you and I have talked about what it like looks like to prepare what I care about. And you also know that 643 charts has a ton of like data on college players, and I really like to incorporate that. I like to know about that. There's no data on 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds. So I was like, all right, what's your favorite food? What's your nickname? Kind of thing. That was kind of my prep. And then obviously there was some kids who had been having a really good tournament up to the semifinals and finals, which I called. But what I loved about it was the focus was not on the stats or the data or the pitch calling or whatever. It was just these young girls having the time of their life with their best friends. And I'm not sure if you can relate, Kelly, but the most fun I've ever had on a softball field was probably around that age, like
Yeah.
10 to 12, just pure joy. So to cover that and just like amplify that, that was the goal at least, was a truly like incredible weekend of my life. Like I don't think I'll ever forget those 48 hours or whatever of doing those games. It was really special. But yeah. Did you play Little League?
I mean, I played travel, but nothing like
Yeah.
this. And it's
Yeah.
crazy to see now that Little League softball is on ESPN1, like the E1, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of is a great segue into what I want to ask you next is just like the future of this sport.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the Olympics and, everything going on right now, as an American, someone who was born here, I never thought softball was like not a big sport. Like it was played
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. All my friends played it. I thought it was like a baseball. But the fact that
Mm-hmm.
it's not in the Paris Olympics, I mean, it's not really a big sport in other places. So what do you think about that?
It's crazy. I did kind of have that reality check, like right after college, 2021 summer, because or 2022 summer, I went to Europe like for work, and when I told people I played college softball, or like they're like, "Oh, do you play sports?" I said, "I play college softball," and they had no idea what that meant. Like to them, that could have been like, and there's nothing wrong with this, but like a club team at a university, which is totally fun in and of itself, but less commitment, less serious, yada yada yada. So that was like tough because you and I both, we want softball to be in Olympics. Like I grew up,
Yeah.
that's who I grew up idolizing. And I love the Olympics is so much fun. But if you told me there was a sport in the world where two teams for the most part dominated, in which in this case it would be USA and Japan, and then the rest of the teams were good, but a lot of them had girls and women from the US.
Mhm.
So like I want it to be represented on the world stage, but also I understand why it's not. Luckily, it will be in LA.
Yeah.
or actually, it won't be in LA. It'll be at the LA Olympics. Did you know this? That it's gonna be in
Yes.
Oklahoma City?
Yes,
That's
and that's
that
also
stinks.
sparking some controversy. Exactly. So
Yeah.
you're not it the part of the Olympic experience is to be in that village with all the other professional athletes. And
Mhm.
so I love that the LA Olympics is hosting softball, but
Mhm.
it's just not, in LA. It's in
And I
Oklahoma.
right, and I think that the biggest question on that is, like, number 1, let's ask ourselves this, is the biggest spectacle, the most beautiful spectacle for our sport in the United States, is it in Oklahoma City? The answer is yes. It's the best stadium. There's not a stadium like that in LA. And I understand the want to by the Olympic Committee. I don't know who makes these decisions, so just don't listen to me in that way. But of like they're trying to like showcase the best of the sport. And I understand why they don't morph a baseball field. Like that would be a kind of a bad look, in my opinion, morphing a baseball field. However, for the athlete's sake, like you have to ask yourself, is it what do I want the personal experience of being in the village or do I want the game that I love to grow globally? Because
Yeah.
I think those two might be maybe at odds in this situation. So what's your emotions on it, Gal?
I mean, LA is packed. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking space. And if the only field is UCLA, there's no
mm,
way they're going to be able to hold fans there. UCLA is a very historic field. It's not made to hold what Devon Park in Oklahoma can hold.
right.
So I do agree that that field is better suited for what's to come, but you miss out. You miss out on that half of the experience.
Because it's far.
I don't
It's
think there's an
not
answer.
close.
I don't think
No,
there's an
there isn't.
answer.
I think it's a lose lose. Sadly, it's a lose lose. I wish that the committee had the foresight to build something
Yeah.
large and massive and beautiful near LA. But like you said, at any rate, it would not have been in LA unless it was a baseball field
Yeah.
because there's no room to build a softball stadium. But yeah, future Olympians, comment below what you think about whether it should
Yeah.
be in Oklahoma City or in LA.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I
Bes-
think hashtag grow softball though, hashtag grow
yeah.
softball. So.
Hashtag gross awful. Well, besides the Olympics,
hmm
like the professional atmosphere here in the United States, what do you think about having AU and then the WPF and then Connect Sports, like having three different leagues? Because I've asked every guest on this past season what they think
hmm
about this. So I want to hear your take on this.
I think it's unfortunate. I think you and we've talked about this a little bit before, but now to kind of see it play out during the season, I just have a hard time watching other leagues other than AAU because AAU is on ESPN and the production level is so high. Not that the production level isn't high elsewhere, but that does make a huge difference. And I find it. I just we've talked about it. It stinks. Like I think it'd
Yeah.
be amazing if it had the same flow and same format and same infrastructure that Major League Baseball does. It doesn't. So it upsets me, but at the same time I understand like we're not there yet. But
Hmm.
I think there's an interest in pro softball more so than ever before. I think it's growing. I don't have any numbers to back that up.
Yeah.
But how does it feel on the inside? Does it feel like it's
Yeah.
growing? Like how are your fans in Texas?
I mean, I think it's growing and not by the fans, but by the people who are now deciding, yeah, I want to continue to play. Like,
Mm. Mhm.
I feel like AU is the best, the cream of the crop. Like, if you're all American, you're going to AU.
Mhm.
But there's so many other players who want to continue to play and have the skill set to do so. In
Totally.
baseball, not all Americans make it to the top. It's like there's a
Mhm.
wide spectrum of people. People get hot even after college.
Mhm.
So the fact that now there's different leagues, I can see it growing. Maybe if AU gets bigger or if they do one big league and then AU is like the best of the best out of the big league, like you
Mhm.
have to make that, who knows? I think it's going to grow like you said, but just the fact that people are agreeing to go and continue, and even if
Mhm.
it's not an AU, if you go to the WPF, if you go to Connect Sports, that itself is growing it.
Yeah. And to your point about the wide spectrum in baseball, like there was guys that didn't get they were, independently guys, didn't even get drafted, went to D2, D3 And that kind of makes me sad for the women in our sport who went D2, D3, because it's a different level, but that doesn't mean the talent isn't close, like very, very close. And in some cases, I would argue there's D2, D3 players that are better than D1
Yeah.
players. So for them, I don't know if they even get looks from these pro teams, these smaller organizations to say, yeah, come and try it kind of thing. So I feel bad for those folks too. I feel
Well,
bad
we
for just all our whole sport, but
we do have a D2 player on our team, Sarah Fessler. So she
yeah, but I'm
tried
saying it's unique, right? It
it
doesn't happen
is.
often.
Mm-mm.
But
She had to try out and like went through this whole process of being in our practices but not on the team, and she finally got it,
mm,
but it's a lot more stressful than to just be
mhm,
signed straight out of college.
mhm.
Yeah.
Did you see that NCAA is requiring scholarships to increase to like I think 25 for softball, full
Yeah.
scholarships.
I did not see that.
I saw this on Twitter. I don't know. I did not look at it enough, and this was random. We did not have this to talk about, so we neither of us are prepared on the subject. But let's just say that that is true. 25 scholarships for softball. What is your initial reaction to that?
I mean, just the roster is going to grow. Like there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be depth. And when there's depth, there's more opportunity for people who aren't hot because you got to remember softball's a sport that's like this. So when
Mm-hmm.
someone's on the low and someone can get be put in that's on a high, your team just elevates. And it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult to be that in that position as a player who's on the low and gets taken out. But at the end of the
Totally.
day, it's a business and you want your team to win. So if there's 25 scholarships, that's a lot. That is a lot of money that you can put back into the program.
Yeah, and then adding on NIL on top of that at some of these schools,
Oh my
25, and
gosh.
especially, at Duke, like that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal because the barrier to entry, especially I think before it was less than 15, I think it was 13 something. I should totally know that. I
Yeah.
apologize. It's just been a long couple weeks. So, but the barrier to entry and the fact that like coaches have to split up money and say you deserve this, you deserve that. Now, probably rosters are still going to be capped at like 30, but you can just say, "Hey, you're in. You're in." Like or like here, all covered. And all covered at Duke and some of these other schools that are really expensive is a huge 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 deal. So I'm very
Yeah.
very happy for Coach Young. I think it's going to go through again. If we're like way off, we apologize, but
Sorry about that. But if we
yeah,
talk
sorry
about
about
NIL, we have to
Yeah.
talk about the deal that just happened. Nija Canady,
Mm,
$1.2 million deal to go to Texas Tech. What
mm.
are your opinions on that? What the heck?
First of all, this is history. History in our sport. History in women's sports, probably. I she went in the portal a long time ago. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was gonna go to Oklahoma. Very happy that didn't happen, just for the sake of our
Mm-hmm.
sport and the parody. But then she stayed in for so long that I thought there's a good chance she's gonna go back to Stanford because it's like kind of like, what else do you need to know?
Mm-hmm.
But then Jerry Glasgow, the head coach at Texas Tech, like tweeted out like I don't know what their little tagline is, but the tagline with emoji kind of saying we got somebody, and no one really could think of like who else would be in the portal that is still available at
Yeah.
that level. So when I saw it, I was like, wow. And I
Mm-hmm.
also thought like she must be getting a big heavy
Money.
bag for that. So then when it came out $1.2 million, which I think is partially funded by Patrick Mahomes and what he's done with the NIL at Texas Tech, wow. First thoughts, I was like, wow, you give up a Stanford education? And then second thoughts, I was like, how much is that worth? Like
Mm-hmm.
in the grand scheme, when will you get your return on investment? I don't know her situation, whether she can go back and finish her grad or her degree. She's
Mm-hmm.
only done 2 years, so 2 years. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm really happy for her. Like she's betting on herself. Hats off
Yeah.
to you. $1.2 million, like to go play softball, and then to she's gonna be an even bigger storyline, even bigger like star in our sport because this is going to be I mean I'm going to say this on the air probably 55 times next year because it's crazy. So really really happy for her. But I don't know what the Big 12 will look like with I mean
Yeah.
Texas Tech now versus Oklahoma State because Oklahoma and Texas are gone. So it'll be interesting. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think she was going to go to Texas Tech. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, Texas, Florida, I was thinking of established programs
Mhm.
already. And I don't know what her criteria was. Maybe she wanted to go somewhere where she can bring a school up to the big league, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just insane that that money is in softball. You know, hats off
Mhm.
to her. Freaking freshman year, freshman player of the year, then
Mhm.
player of the year, 2 times All American. Like, this girl can do whatever she wants at this
Yeah.
point, and she deserves it because she puts that work in.
Mhm. And hats off too to like Texas Tech's fan base that I did not know was as ferocious as clearly they are, in terms of putting together $1.2 million for her. And I'm
Oh my
assuming there's
God.
got to be some extra stuff on top of that. If I don't know what the deal looks like. It also, I don't think it's officially we've seen it, but I think it's allegedly yes. That's the $1.2 million deal, which is crazy. Which
I know.
like, I want to ask you, who's the last player you remember in our sport that if they transferred, they would get something similar to 1.2 mil?
Wow. I got to think on that for a second.
It's kind of hard.
I think Rachel Garcia would have been
Mm,
a person up there. You know,
hmm.
someone with like a big bat, big arm. Like, she was a player that would change a team just by, being on it. So,
Good point.
yeah, these players don't come every year. It's like
No.
once every 4 years you see someone so dominant in a sport like this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's crazy, actually. Yeah. I was initially thinking, I don't know if you remember her, Megan Langenfeld. UCLA as well. She like hit a walk-off home run to win the championship, and she was also a pitcher. Either way, and I mean, but like you said, there has been those players in our sport. They don't come often, but when they do, you can't like stop and wait. You have to watch and like really appreciate what they're doing.
Mhm.
It'll be so interesting to see how it shakes out for her with a new pitching coach, with a new program. Like, I think people underestimate what that looks like when you transfer. It's not just like a complete smooth landing necessarily. It could be better, could be smoother than your last spot, but like it also is a whole new system, a whole new campus, a whole new lifestyle.
Yep.
Imagine Stanford versus Texas, Lubbock,
Such
Texas
a
versus Stanford.
difference. Yeah.
Crazy.
Such
Yeah,
a
it's exciting
difference.
though. Yeah,
It is
but
it is very exciting, and you're talking about the difference of Stanford and Texas Tech, but
mm-hmm.
there's a new difference in our lives from going to Duke to Clemson. So, I
Mm,
haven't told
huge,
anyone
huge.
this, but I am the new GA coach, so that's grad assistant coach at Clemson. How crazy is
Woo, woo,
that?
woo, woo, woo. Congratulations, Kelly. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, tell
it's
us about it.
exciting to be in the ACC still, and like
Mhm.
I just wasn't done. There's part of me
Mhm.
that still wanted to go to school. I wanted to find a place that I can go to school and still be in the sport. And Clemson, was looking for someone, and it worked out perfectly. And I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'll be working with their catchers. I'll be working in their bullpen. So I'm really excited to just share my knowledge and help out another. I wouldn't even say generation because I'm only a year older than them, but just to
Mhm.
help out the next players in the ACC.
Yeah, and Kelly, I do want to remind you when I said who's the biggest rival or something, and you said Clemson. So
Yeah.
I just want to zoom out for you. You're going to Duke's biggest rival, actually the second Blue Devil to do so. Shout out to Caroline Jacobson, who transferred and played there. But no, I'm joking. Obviously, it's what an amazing opportunity, amazing school. Like honestly, when I was a senior before I tore my knee up, I was thinking I would love to play there. I mean, the fans are awesome, the
Oh,
field is
yeah.
awesome, so it's a really really exciting thing. Do you have your like apartment? Do you have all that squared away?
Yeah, yep. I've
Oh,
already,
you guys.
found a place to live. I have orientation coming up soon. So it's really just finishing out this season, playing pro. And then in 2 days, I'm in Clemson right after this season's over.
Wow. And what day is
hmm
that?
That'll be August 21st is our first team meeting. So I'm not sure what this pod's going to be like, but it's
Mhm.
going to have some influence on Clemson now. I'm bringing
Yeah.
we first started this as a player at Duke and then took it into the professional player life. And now
Hmm.
we're going into more of like what it looks like in the coaching aspect at
Yeah.
Clemson. So I'm excited to
Dude.
see the new topics we're going to just be talking about.
Hmm. How cool is that? I mean, Softball Speakeasy season 3 is about to go crazy. It's
Yeah,
about to
go
be crazy.
Tigers. Go
Yeah. Oh
Tigers.
God. Oh, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we'll have to. I'm excited to keep this thing going. Obviously, what does that mean for the podcast? It means a lot of these remote interviews, but also we're gonna talk, see if we can do some like in person stuff at Clemson. I'll do some in person stuff at Duke, maybe,
Mhm.
and we can keep playing it by ear. But yeah. And Kelly, just gotta give you hats off for getting all these episodes out every week, having different guests on, just doing the whole thing. And for folks at home, like it is a lot of work to like learn all of this on the fly. And Kelly has done it tremendously well. So
Yeah.
lucky to have her.
Well, hats off to Rain because I literally would not be able to do it if it wasn't for you.
Yes, you
So
would.
I don't know.
Yes, you would. But
Uh,
so take us through what does what does the next season, or excuse me, not next season, what does the next couple weeks look like for you within this pro season? How does the playoffs look like? Remind us of all those details so we
yeah.
can stay tuned.
Okay, so we play the Coastal Wave at
Hmm.
home. So they're coming to us. We went to Corpus Christi, that's where they're located out of, 2 weeks ago. So they're coming to us. We have 3 weeks left of regular season. I could be wrong. It could be two. 2 weeks. Scratch that. 2 weeks left
Mm,
of this regular season. August 12th starts the championship. So it's going to be one game. If you win that one game, you're into the championship series. If you lose that first game, you're out. So,
wow.
yeah, it's going to be from August 12th to the 17th, is
Mm,
all of like the end games, who's going to win at the end of all of this. So I hope you'll see the Texas Monarch there playing on August 17th. That's the day you
wow.
want to make it to.
Let's go. We'll be watching.
Mhm.
And you said that we'll put the links in the description to watch you, Kelly, but it's also on
Yeah.
YouTube. Is that fair? Is that
Yep,
correct?
yep. It's a live
Awesome.
stream off YouTube. I'll put that in the description. So you guys, everyone who has nothing to do and misses softball because, college softball is not on anymore,
I
you should
know.
tune in because it's
Heck
fun.
yes. Heck
It's
yes.
different. It is, you don't play with such, uniform character and like not
Mm.
that I was emotionless, but like we're just happy to continue to play. So, people are dancing on the field, we're talking, giving some umpires fist pumps if you can. So all the good
Oh
things.
yeah. You crazy, crazy. Did you talk about this in the last episode and I just
I
forgot?
did. I
Okay,
did.
okay. I was like, did we talk? Did you talk about it? Yeah. Well, listen to the last episode when Kelly talks about how she tried to fist bump an umpire after hitting a home run. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. And the umpire was like, no, no, you made me fired.
Well, then I did it the next weekend at Corpus, and the umpire did high five me back. He did.
Oh my God. Who are are these? Let me ask you this actually. Are the umpires good in pro? Or are they?
Yeah, so the
They
last
are?
one we just had, I'm blanking on his name, but I don't know his real name. I call him Biggie. He just goes by Biggie. But he was in the Big 12, Big 10, my bad.
Nice.
He was in the Big 10. And then
Okay.
we had this other guy who was a World Series umpire as well.
Oh wow.
So,
That's
mhm.
sick. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And the reason I asked too is Little League umpiring is obviously different, a little more chill. And I just was, it's weird to see the game be at like super high level and call it. And then it's also weird to go back to like 10 to 12 where like the strike zone is huge and like just they're throwing the ball everywhere, but they're having so much fun too.
Yeah.
Um, before
Do you
we wrap or go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, are there like crazy parents in those little league games like how there are
Well,
in, college ball?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure they are, but Little League is very, and what I loved about working with the folks there was like they are very dialed in what they expect from the players, the umpires, the fans, the coaches. Like there's no there's no room for that in the especially in the regional and of Little League, the higher levels of Little League because it's televised. We do, however, mic up the coaches, which and we go live to them sometimes, and they know that. But in the moment, sometimes I feel like they maybe wouldn't have said something they said, not in a bad
Mhm.
way, but more like pretty like intense. Which
Mhm.
honestly, young girls like I love that. I'm sure you loved that. Like I loved
Yeah.
my coach like
I
super in.
needed
It's
it.
not like yeah, exactly. And it's all in good taste and like trying to motivate
Mhm.
them. But all that to say is like you can tell that they're in it, because they're all volunteers, which is a beautiful, amazing thing for the young ladies in our sport. So yeah, it was interesting, but yeah, there's I mean, crazy people everywhere, crazy parents
Yeah.
everywhere, um, that are just super invested in what their child is doing, which I don't blame them for. But it's about the kid. Don't ruin their game. Um, my parents were amazing, by the way. I just want to say that, and your parents are incredible as well.
Yes, they are.
Yes, intensity is good.
Yes, you need it. If you don't have
You do.
intensity from a parent or a coach, you're not making it to the highest level. You're not.
Mhm. We should talk sometime over the next couple weeks about the idea of parents pushing their kid to be great, and
Hmm.
at what cost versus like the end, whatever justifies the means, whatever. But we'll wrap it up here because I know we're at time now. But Kelly, it's so good to see you again. I don't know when we'll do this again, but one
Yeah.
question I have to ask you moving forward is about Duke in 2025. I know you probably won't be able to talk about Duke as much when you get over to
Mhm.
Clemson. That's a question we're getting a lot of. Can you preview Duke softball 2025? How good will they be? This is early predictions.
Well, there was a big senior class that left, but the talent of those young kids, they I don't think they're gonna skip a beat. You know, they
Mm,
have a couple add-ons. They're gonna have to find a new groove like every team does when they, have a big loss, especially
mhm,
some big key seniors. So they're just gonna have to find their groove, and it might be a little shaky in the fall. But I think come springtime, like they're dogs. They're going to
yeah.
compete, and whether it's gonna be scrappy, whether it's going to be the same way you've seen Duke fight, they're going to fight always.
Yeah, excited to see your growing perspective on them as a coach, and then your perspective as Clemson. We'll loop in the Tiger fans, and we'll track both of those
Yeah.
programs next year.
Well, I do have something to add. I am so excited to see Kyrie Rodriguez go
Mm,
out there and play because the work that she's put in the past two
mm,
years behind me, in practice and picking my brain, like that girl is just going to fly this next year. And I'm
mm.
excited to see her play.
Yes, shout out Kyrie. Shout out to all the young ladies on the Duke team, and a couple of transfers as well, which is exciting. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. But
Yeah.
since Kelly's been pulling all the legwork, I'll do the outro. But we want to thank you all so much for watching, listening, viewing, and subscribing. Please comment below what you want from us. Did you like this reunion episode? Do you like Rain? Get out of here. Keep Kelly on. That'll hurt my feelings, but it's okay. Tell us. So Softball Speakeasy comes out every single Wednesday. Remember, Kelly's a pro athlete, so sometimes it might not come out right at midnight, but just shortly after. Watch us on YouTube. Listen, like, and subscribe. Wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Make sure to follow us at SB Speakeasy on all social media platforms. DM us what you want, DM us your questions, and you can put business inquiries at softballspeakeasy@gmail.com. All right. So thank you so much. Catch you guys next week on the pod. I won't be there, but Kelly will.
I
Love
will.
you.
So I'll see you. Peace.
Peace.